I'm going to show you some super easy steps to take in order to take away some of those noises that AC unit's making. And then once we get through those really easy steps, I'm going to show you some add-ons that you can add to pretty much any AC unit that make a massive difference in bringing those noise levels down. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measurement of the decibels just to get a baseline for how loud it is, and then at the end of the video I'll do another reading and see how much we've brought it down. So I'll go ahead and start up the AC unit. And we're averaging around 96 or 97 decibels. So I'll go ahead and turn this off. So all these things I'm going to show you are all measures that can help bring down the decibels or how loud your AC unit is. But in this particular case, if you're noticing like a rattling noise or almost like a chirping noise, like a cricket, and it's kind of got a rhythmic sound to it, whereas that fan spins, you're just hearing it at the same interval, then there's a good chance that either A, your shroud has some sort of a bend in it, or it's been dented by something. And if that's the case, if you're able to locate where the bend or the dent is, and you're able to bend it back out, then that very well may take care of that issue. But if you don't notice any bends or any dents in this protective shroud here, then the next thing that we always want to do is we want to check our screws, and we want to make sure that they're all tightened down. And a lot of people will say, well, why don't you just use a screw gun or an impact in order to tighten down these screws? Well, an impact or a screw gun is great at certain times. I use them all the time when I'm removing or loosening these screws. But when it comes to tightening these screws down, it doesn't take a whole lot for them to get over tightened and actually get stripped out. So that's why I always like to use this screwdriver with the 5/16 drive on it, because then I can hand tighten it. I can feel how tight they are, and I can make sure that they're not going to be over tightened to where they strip everything out. So I'm just going to want to go all the way around this shroud here at the top of the AC unit and just make sure that everything is tightened down the way that it should be. If it's not tightened down, then there's a good chance that this is where our chirping noise is coming from, or a little bit of a rattle. Again, especially if you're hearing it in a rhythm. All right, another place to look is these nuts that are here on top. These nuts are what are actually holding your fan motor assembly to the shroud itself. It's what's actually suspending it in the AC unit. I typically just go around and see if there's any movement in them with my fingers, just to make sure that they're not loose at all. If you do find that they are even slightly loose, then you will definitely want to tighten these down. You definitely don't want your fan motor underneath to be basically wobbling back and forth. You're going to get all kinds of noise with that, and you're also going to wear things down faster. Now, the next thing that I like to look for, if you're hearing what just sounds more like a rattle coming from your AC unit, it's not necessarily in a rhythm, it's just rattling constantly. Well, you may want to start looking at your screws that are here on top of the AC unit. This is what holds the lid on. And you may also want to check the ones down at the bottom. These screws are also attached to this grate here. So this grate is actually here to help protect those fins and those coils on the inside from being damaged. But if these screws are loose, then you may actually be getting some rattling coming from the lid of the AC, but it may also be coming from this cage, this protective cage here as well. So again, we just want to make sure everything's nice and tight. So we want to go all the way around the AC unit and just hit all of these screws, just making sure that they are in fact all tightened down. This is actually incredibly common for these to come loose as time goes by. The AC runs and the AC causes vibrations. Those vibrations cause the screws to come loose, and it just periodically need to just check on them just to make sure that everything is nice and tight. And again, we don't want to forget about these screws down here on the bottom. The ones on top are going to be the ones that are most responsible for the noise, but of course the ones on the bottom can also cause a little bit of a rattling noise. So taking those steps should really bring down the noise and also take care of a lot of those super annoying noises like that chirping and that rattling. But this is the part of the video where I get to introduce you to some really cool products that can really make a huge difference in bringing that noise level down. This giant piece of rubber is what is called a sound blanket. It's a compressor sound blanket, and it's made of a very rigid rubber. Now, as you can see here on the inside, the entire inside has this insulation material. This is definitely for sound dampening along with the rubber, trying to keep that sound inside of this blanket. Down here at the bottom, you've got this reflective strip. This is for high temperatures. This is just to make sure to keep everything safe. And this is obviously specifically made for air conditioner compressors, as they have their holes made here specifically for your piping that comes out of the compressor and goes inside to your internal unit on the inside of the house. And they advertise this as bringing down the decibels by at least 8.8 decibels. And I've seen a bunch of other people saying it actually reduced it by more than that. So I'm pretty excited to see if we get those kinds of results. So let's go ahead and install it on the compressor. Now, I've got my AC unit in the off position, so it shouldn't come on, but anytime you're working with your AC unit, you should always go to the main disconnect that should be right next to your unit. And then if you see this little piece of plastic handle right here, all you do is pull that out, and now your AC unit is completely disconnected and cannot power up. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to get this lid off, which I know I just tightened all these down. But if you are going to do this step or add this blanket, obviously you'd want to do this first. So I need to remove all of the screws that are going around the top that is holding the lid on the top of the AC unit. Now that I've got all those screws out, now I'll just pop the lid off, and I want to make sure that as I take this lid off, there's some conduit on one side of it. I want to make sure that I put this lid in such a way that it's not putting a lot of strain on that conduit and those wires. All right, so here, this middle part that you see here, this is the compressor. So the compressor itself can actually be a large contributor to just the overall loud noise that you're hearing from your AC unit. So this is a super easy install. All I gotta do is have the blanket open, have that Velcro pulled apart, line up the holes that are cut out in the blanket itself with my piping, and they fit in those holes perfectly. There's actually another hole over on the side for the wiring to come through. And then once everything is sitting properly, the pipes are in the correct spot, the wiring's coming out the side out of the hole it's designed for, then I'll just push those two flaps together, connecting the Velcro together, and now the compressor blanket is installed. All right, so as you can see close up, we got that hole for the wiring to come out of. We got this lined up perfectly for this pipe to come out of. And then up here on top, they've got this little notch for this pipe to come out here at the top. So everything's in there nice and snug. So now let's put the lid back on and tighten everything up. And of course, the way I'm going to do this is just in the reverse order, snapping the lid back on top and then taking each of the individual screws and putting them back in the locations that I took them out of. And just like the steps earlier, I'm not going to use an impact to tighten this all back down. I'm just going to hand tighten it just to make sure that I don't strip anything out. Before I do the test, I want to show you one other item that can make a massive improvement in how loud the AC unit is, and that's this Easy Start Kit made by Micro Air. Now, the main reason I installed this is so that I can run my AC unit in the event of a power outage using my portable generator. The way it works is it slowly starts up the compressor on the inside, so you don't have that sudden jolt of electricity. And since everything is starting up slower and only pulling the amount of power that it needs in order for it to work, this actually also basically has the side effect of quieting down the AC unit as a whole. All right, so we're ready to do our test. Here we are again, about 2 feet from the AC unit. I've got my decibel meter ready, so let's go ahead and turn it on. And as you can see, the decibel rating is down a lot further. It's only going up now because I'm talking. But we're averaging probably around 82 to 85 decibels, which drops it by at least that 8.8 decibels and actually a little bit more than that. So I would rack this up as a win, as that is quite a reduction in noise coming from this AC unit now. Now, if you thought those results were great, bring it down about 10 to 12 decibels, which is actually a huge reduction in terms of decibels, then wait till you see what I do next, because it's going to bring it down way more than even that. And it's really something that everybody should be doing at least on a yearly basis. And that is making sure the AC unit is running at peak performance. And wait until you see the results in the decibel reading, because the results were actually really shocking. And I achieved this by opening everything up and completely cleaning out my AC unit, cleaning out the fins, cleaning up the coils, cleaning out everything on the inside, and identifying and taking care of some items that I don't really see many people talking about when it comes to this particular task. And the reason why cleaning an AC unit is going to have such a massive noise reduction is because when you clean that AC unit, it's able to run at a cooler rate, which means it's able to run smoother. Therefore, you're going to get a lot less noise while it's running. And so once I got everything cleaned up and put back together, these are the results that I got. All right, so here we are again. We're 2 feet away. Let's turn it on. So as you can see, we're averaging around 59 to 63 decibels, which is what, about 30, actually more about 35 decibels lower than our original reading. So by reducing it by at least 30 and actually a little bit more than 30 decibels, that is a massive noise reduction. Now, if you'd like to know exactly what I do in order to get my AC unit running at peak performance and therefore bringing down the noise by such a large amount like you saw in this video, I made a video fairly recently showing exactly how I go about deep cleaning my AC unit, and I go over some things that I don't see anybody really talking about that are actually really important in order to make sure you're getting your AC unit properly cleaned. So I'll post a link to that video right over here and it will take you directly to it. So I hope that you found this video to be helpful and informative, and if you did, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button right down below, and of course if you have any questions or comments, you can leave those down in the comment section. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. See ya.